Hello, everybody. Welcome into Bills Weekly here on FingerLakes1.com. I am Paul Russo, joined as always by Jim Sinicropi and Kyle Evans. We're here to recap and discuss the Bills' win on Sunday Night Football against the New York Giants in Week 6. We'll also be taking a look at the Week 7 matchup on the road against the New England Patriots. But first, we want to thank today's sponsor of the podcast, Dewey's Tavern. Dewey's Tavern is within walking distance from downtown Cycle Falls, just across the Bridge Street Bridge. Play quick draw, lottery, 19 televisions for all your sporting events. Great food for lunch or dinner, and bocce, dart, and pool leagues. Check them out online at deweysthirdward.com. Those 19 TVs come in handy on weekends like this past one, I would say so.
Yeah, if you
Playoffs,
like defense.
football, yeah. Yeah.
You'll see a lot of defense on a lot of different screens.
Mm-hmm. Kyle, the Bills, what was your biggest – I want to start with that. What's the biggest takeaway from this weekend? Because it was a – Jim, you mentioned defense, but it was an ugly game again, kind of collectively overall there, especially on offense. But if you're a defensive fan, I think you got to be more than thrilled once again.
Yeah, through 6 weeks, I think around the league, we've seen a lot of upsets, a lot of ugly football, especially offensively. And the Bills almost capped off what would have been another wild game in the NFL had they lost on that final play of the game. So, basically what I see now in all the games, I'm not really surprised. I mean, yeah, it's kind of shocking that they only scored 14, but the way this season has gone around the league, it's crazy.
Yeah. Jim, for you, big takeaway from the week?
Big takeaway is that the Bills could very easily be 3-3 right now. They lost to Jacksonville last week, and then you come back here, and it's always tough to travel from Europe and then play a game the following week. But they were playing, the Giants. And the Giants were out their starting quarterback. The Bills are at relatively full strength, at least offensively, and they didn't score a point in 3 quarters against the Giants. And then, after securing the win, they let the Giants march down to the 1-yard line and really got bailed out by the refs not calling an obvious pass interference call on Darren Waller. So that's how close they are to being 3-3, which we played this last week when we pulled up other teams, with the same record as the Bills, which at the time was 3-2. If we did it again this week at 3-3, the company they'd be keeping would not be too impressive. So again, looking at this team through the lens of a Super Bowl contender, AFC Championship type of team. Again, they went from being there 2 weeks ago after beating Miami to just not being there after losing to Jacksonville and really, looking awful against the Giants. The Giants.
And honestly, the defense, in my opinion, deserves to be 6-0. The offense in both of the losses have been the reason why they haven't won the game, won each game. So, yeah, credit to the defense again. They gave up 3 field goals. That's incredible to do to any NFL team. I mean, as we know around the league, it's tough to win.
Yeah.
So, credit to the defense again for showing up. The offense is a major problem right now.
So, the Bills are, if the league was the New York State Football League, the Bills would be in last place because they've lost to the Jets and the Giants.
Yeah. Well, maybe. They did beat the Giants, but...
Oh, yeah, well, like I said, it feels like a lot.
To be fair, they're the only team in New York State as well.
and they it was in Buffalo, too.
Right.
So I'm sure Bills Mafia had a good time watching their offense not score a point in 3 quarters last night.
Yeah, it was interesting. I know a few people who were at the game last night, and they said it was actually probably one of the worst games kind of period they ever had been to up there. I guess they tried to do a weird, not weird, but you know how they have like the light shows now, whether it be drones or they did, I guess the one yesterday was with bracelets. I guess that didn't go off according to plan the way it sounded and everything else. One of those things where I think if you were a fan in Highmark yesterday, you weren't having a good time across the board.
Why are the Giants in so many primetime games?
The New York City market, they were perceived to be a good team. I mean, I'm not
Same with the Jets.
Right.
That's one reason why these Sunday night games, in Monday night too, they've been horrible this year. This was a close game. But it makes
wasn't.
no sense. It defies all logic.
I mean, if you're a defensive guy, you love those games, right? But for the general,
who are these defensive guys that love these
but for the general football fan, I mean,
12-9 games?
has not been good football. Like that was just not. It was not fun watching that game.
There was
last
a
night.
fight.
Yeah.
Football fights are kind of dumb too. Everybody's got helmets and pads on, like
Well,
square.
I do want to circle back to that because it began pre-game and then it trickled kind of through the game. So we'll get to that. I want to talk about the offense here a little bit more. I kind of want to, I guess, start maybe with Josh Allen. 19 of 30, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And those 2 touchdowns were to two. I don't know if you want to consider Deontay Hardy maybe an exact unlikely person in this, but it was his lone reception for 3 yards.
That was a nice play call, though. I mean, I could have lined up where Hardy lined up and scored on that play. Everybody was looking at Diggs, and he just faked one way, went the other, and had the whole side of the field. Easy one.
Yeah, but Hardy's one of those guys that, we did talk about last week, right? Speedy guy they brought in, meant for situations kind of like that in a sense, where he can do some, whether it's a sweep action or if they're deeper in the field, right, just pure vertical. And then what ended up being the game-winning touchdown was to second-year tight end, technically, Quentin Morris.
First catch of the year.
Yeah, first catch of the year, first target of the year was that reception for 15 yards in the touchdown. And, it was a quiet night for Gabe Davis, 3 receptions for, I think it was just over 20 yards.
A fumble.
And then Diggs had a good game nonetheless, 10 receptions for 100 yards, but he couldn't find the end zone either. It ended up being like I said, it was a really weird, quiet pass game from your typical guys, and 2 unlikely heroes are the ones who end up with the touchdown receptions at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, it's good to finally see them use Deontay Hardy in the red zone. I mean, like we just said, that's what they brought him in for. And obviously he was going to play more or be on the field more with Dalton Kincaid, but they need to switch things up. They need to get more guys involved, like Hardy, like Trent Sherfield, like Khalil Shakir. Dawson Knox had 3 catches.
Dropped one, too.
Dropped a huge one. But again, they paid him all this money, and he's not being utilized as a number 1 tight end. It makes 0 sense. And I brought up a stat a little bit ago. Stephon Diggs has been targeted 27 times in the last 2 games. Gabe Davis, the number 2 receiver on the team, has been targeted 12. Mm-hmm. That's not a good ratio for a number 1 and 2 receiver on an offense that's supposed to be one of the best in the league.
You think it's like Davis not being able to get open as much as Diggs, or Allen just keying in on Diggs because he doesn't want to get an earful for not throwing it to him?
Yeah, it seems like Josh Allen's first read a lot of times is Diggs and doesn't look any other way.
It works.
And then last night, Diggs was being double-teamed, and he was still finding the ball. So, I mean, it's working, but I just feel like to get this offense really going, more guys have to be involved. Deontay Hardy has to be involved more. And he only has 3 targets over the last 2 games. Deontay Hardy, that is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Hardy's, I think, a name that most people probably recognize at this point for special teams purposes more than anything else. And that's all fine and well, but, like we've now said now for a couple weeks in a row here, that this really wasn't his purpose necessarily of being brought in. James Cook, 14 carries for 71 yards. I don't want to say ineffective. Like, that was a really good game, especially coming off of the past couple weeks for him. And, for maybe a minute, it looked like the running was going to take over. And I do want to say, I don't know if you guys caught this, but I chuckle at this point every time now we talk about Latavius Murray on a broadcast for when he's playing at home for Buffalo for a home game, and they act as if Onondaga Central and the Syracuse metropolitan area is 2 blocks from Orchard Park.
Right, yeah.
But to me, it seemed like the run game kind of got back a little bit more into play last night after
35 yards for Murray, right? 71 for Cook.
Murray came out actually as the starter. They changed it up to start off the game, and then they started feeding Cook more in the second quarter, and then he kind of got going.
Well, their long touchdown drive, the 17-play drive, they ran it 12 times.
Yeah.
So that's not typical Bills. But whatever they were doing in the first half wasn't working, so they obviously shifted and decided they were going to, pound it down there, and it worked out for them, barely.
And Josh Allen was 11 for 12 in passing in the second half, so he's pretty efficient that way, and that's why they scored 14 points.
Right.
And how about this? They've scored 34 points in the last 2 games. 27 of them have come in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
that's not good. You're scoring too late, and against better teams, they easily could have lost this game.
I see that a lot too with like the Chiefs, maybe more so last year. where at halftime they might be losing 6-3, and then they'll end up winning 32-10. Good teams tend to games speed up the pace in the second half, and but yeah, it's odd. And again, I go back to no points in 3 quarters.
Yep.
Last night.
And over the last 2 games, they punted 9 times. I mean, that's not what you expect to see from this offense.
They didn't even reach the red zone last night till about 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter.
I have a stat, speaking of the red zone, which is kind of a little shocking to me. Josh Allen has the most red zone passing touchdowns this season. 11 of his 13 passes have been in the red zone. That's more than Patrick Mahomes and Tua, who both are tied for 10. So you wouldn't really expect that based on how the offense has looked the last 2 games. But yeah, he has no turnovers in the red zone, and has been, I think he's 19 of 25. So very, very, very good in the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a game that if you're a Bills fan, you breathe a sigh of relief, move on at 4-2, and you hope that it was like an anomaly, just the same way you do if you're an Eagles fan or a San Francisco fan. I don't think like the 49ers were exposed. It's just a long season, and the 49ers, for example, had to come way east and play against a really tough defense, and they were just a little off for whatever reason, and a couple things don't go their way. Even with like the Patriots and the Raiders game, the Devontae Parker dropped a key pass. Otherwise, New England might have won that game. But instead, it's sometimes just one play, or it's just a crazy, crazy league. But on paper, it was an embarrassing night for the Buffalo Bills, and I think like heading into next week at the Patriots, you might see a lower point spread than you would have if they had won this game more convincingly.
Yeah, I want to before kind of moving on to the next kind of topic here involving the skirmishes. Damien Harris released from the hospital today. They're calling it a neck sprain, what he had. So that was obviously good to see after obviously what happened yesterday. And
abundance of caution.
Yes,
I think is what they did that for. But it's funny how all of a sudden the announcers and everybody, it circles back, and you can even see Hamlin on the sideline looking concerned, and nobody likes to see that, but it's almost like the broadcast coverage goes into this mode where they are almost secretly excited that it's happening. That's the wrong thing to say, because I don't think anybody wants to see anybody get hurt, but inside as they're broadcasting, they're like, this could be a big event like Hamlin thing. This could be all everybody's talking about. I don't know. I just watch too much sports on TV, I think.
No, I get what you mean, though. It's that, look, as I call it, violence sells, right? I mean, one of the most famous Sports Illustrated covers of all time in the 70s was Kermit Washington and Maurice Lucas. I mean, 2 known, at least at the time, NBA, frankly, brawlers. I mean, that's just the way it is. So obviously good to see Damien out of the hospital, and hopefully here on the mend. I'm getting back sooner than later on the Bills.
See what he looks like practice-wise this week. Is he like he hasn't been declared like?
No, I would imagine safe guess would probably be out this week. That would
You
be
would
the
think,
safe guess. True. Do want to talk about, because talking about violence sells. Pre-game, Giants-Bills, a little bit of not quite the kerfuffle that you say maybe saw with the 49ers and Browns occurred, but it was chippy pregame between the two teams, and it ended up spilling over mainly in the fourth quarter between the two teams, or actually third quarter rather, between the two teams, that resulted in a couple different players on the ground. I saw a couple kicks go in the air.
Thibodeau is a punk. I mean, he's a really good player, but he's not a great guy.
And I just want to get maybe some reaction here, maybe from you mostly here, Kyle, because it's interesting when these things kind of pop off a little bit. And Jim, you brought up a good point off there that I'll leave it for you, because it's honestly the most glaring thing whenever we see a football fight glare up. But I don't know if it was heat of the moment stuff. I didn't see anything pregame between the two teams necessarily cause a spark when they both came out and were jawing at each other. I don't know if it's just Dable back in Buffalo. I don't know what, but
Part of that, it's New York State. They're not, it had the feel of a conference game, our divisional matchup, even though it's obviously not.
right. Yeah. I don't know, Kyle. What'd you make of that whole sequence?
Exactly what he said. A lot of former players on this Giants team, former Bills. Brian Dable's returned to Buffalo. I believe at the time the Giants were up 2, right? It was 9-7, I think, at that time.
Yeah.
So they were right in the game. The tackles were pretty hard, and I think getting up from the pile, people just didn't like the way things were unfolding, and they just kind of the heat of the moment. It's a battle out there, and usually you don't see guys just going up and just slamming them on the ground. Usually just maybe pushing and shoving a little bit. So this football fight was a little different. But yeah, you see Josh Allen come in there, and you get it. He's defending his lineman, but you don't want to see him go in and throw a shoulder like that.
His linemen don't need to be defended by Josh Allen. I'm sure they'd be perfectly fine if Josh Allen just took a couple steps back and let everybody else participate in the extracurriculars.
Yeah. Shouldn't came flying in like he did.
Yeah, and he had
shoulder.
X-rays on his shoulder.
Yeah.
So, it's not like we're just saying that. He got hurt in a fight.
Yeah. That reminded me of and Kyle, you'll appreciate this. It reminded me of a baseball brawl that occurred 13 years ago now, maybe at least, but Zach Greinke being Carlos Quentin, and Zach Greinke, for whatever reason, led into a tackle off the mound with his right shoulder, his pitching shoulder. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Well, it's like in Bull Durham, he gives the advice to the young pitcher when you're going to punch a drunk guy, use your left hand, not your throwing hand.
Josh Davis, Nuke LaRouche.
Is that what it was? Wait, regardless, though, get out of there, Josh Allen. It's because it's all stupid.
Yeah.
Nothing good's going to come out of it. You're not going to fight somebody to defend your lineman honor in the middle of the game. You're all wearing pads. It's stupid. The only thing that's going to happen is ejections, possible suspensions, or injury. So none of those 3 things is any Bills fan wants to see Josh Allen wrapped up in. So just step back, let everybody else. And then it's also stupid because the announcers, again, are like, and I guess they had the referee back in the studio in New York, chime in.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, there's going to be multiple personal fouls. They'll all offset, and we'll just play the next down. Well, that's ridiculous. You got all these guys looking. I think the Giants had 2 or 3 personal fouls, and the Bills only had 1.
Yeah.
So shouldn't it net out to be?
It is a dumb rule because he did. Who is it for them? Terry McAuley for NBC, I think, or whoever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he even said it's like even if one team had 1, the other team had 10, they equal. I'm like, what? That doesn't make
The Giants
any sense.
had Marshall in there. Thibodeau
Lawrence.
was kicking.
Lawrence.
3. Sexy Dexy Lawrence.
Yeah.
You see the intros?
Lawrence was the one who I thought should have been ejected because he kicked twice at somebody. Thibodeau did once, but Lawrence did twice.
Oh, well, I didn't dissect it too close, but yeah, it seems like there were more Giants than Bills they were more Giants penalized than Bills.
Yeah.
But, whatever. Football fights are stupid.
There it is. Yes. Yeah.
They really are. In top of if you rank this fighting in sports, football's at the bottom because they're so well padded up.
Yeah.
Hockey's number 1.
It's always funny when somebody tries to throw a punch in football. It's like they're wearing a face mask.
You're going to hurt your hand.
And then you get ejected for it, and you know you're going to get ejected, so why do it?
Yep.
There's only been one awesome football fight, in my opinion, and that was Mason Rudolph getting destroyed by Myles Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, sorry. Yeah.
Well, that's all you're doing is you're throwing someone to the
Right.
ground in a football fight. And I don't think in most cases there's not a lot of foot stomping or kicking. It's just all a bunch of. No, there's more physical violence in a regular play of football than there is in a football fight.
Yeah.
And Spencer Brown actually hurt his knee on that play when he got thrown to the ground. He was out of the game for a little bit, getting looked at.
Yeah.
So see what I mean? Where, Josh Allen throws his shoulder, Brown's got a knee injury because of this. It's like, why get involved in that?
Especially when if you're the Bills, you got a lot more to lose than the Giants, whose season is probably over.
Yeah, nice 1-5
certainly
record.
now. Yeah, but the Bills got a lot of high hopes for the future, so
Right.
they should be smarter than to engage in something like that, especially Josh Allen, man.
Yeah.
While we're on the
Couldn't agree
topic,
more.
though,
Yeah.
do you guys miss Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo? He looked pretty good last night. I mean, they didn't put up points, but he looked pretty savvy and confident as a backup quarterback.
Can I go first, Kyle? Because Tyrod's one of my favorite college quarterbacks of all time from my personal era of, like, damn, like, college football's awesome growth when he was at Virginia Tech. So I missed the local element of having him up here. Yeah, I mean, he threw for 200 yards yesterday, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but he's kind of that quarterback at this point, I think, where it's like, not to say he's not going to win you ball games, but he's not going to really lose you a ball game either.
He almost won in that game last night. He threw a perfect pass to Waller, who was being held back like that was pass interference.
Right.
So you can't blame Tyrod Taylor because the ref doesn't throw it. They should have had another shot from the 1-inch line.
And I thought he made a savvy play, too, the second play before that, when he had to take off running. And, like, I laughed at Collins. We were like, oh, he should have threw out the back of the end zone. I'm like, yeah, and risk getting a grounding call potentially.
He
Like,
got it out of bounds,
yeah,
got him a little closer, and then they had the pass interference call, got down to the 1, and then one untimed down should have been 2 because that was pass interference.
Yeah, I like and respect him a lot. And think about it. He helped the Bills in their drought in 2017.
I was about to say,
so,
yeah.
I mean, how could you not like him? So, yeah, I respect him. He did play well. I thought he had a few good throws in there. And, he almost beat the Buffalo Bills. He really did. They're 1 yard away from winning that game.
He went to San Diego, and he was going to be the starter finally, and he's 34 years old now, so he's not, like, washed up or anything. Then he got injured in, like, the first or second week.
No, what happened with that was he was trying to get fluid drained from his back, and they punctured his lung
With a needle.
Yeah.
But injured.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
And then Justin Herbert moved in. But, I mean, if you're the Patriots or the Jets, wouldn't you rather have Tyrod Taylor? Or how about if you're the Vikings? Like, I'd rather have Tyrod Taylor than Jimmy Garoppolo. And where else could they use quarterbacks? Like,
I mean, Atlanta.
Cleveland? Atlanta?
Fine for me, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's funny how a guy like Tyrod Taylor has become this journeyman backup, but he's never really had a chance. And if I was the Patriots or the Jets right now, or the Raiders, who went with Bobby Hoyer yesterday, I'd be looking for some Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
I can't believe Mac Jones is still the starting quarterback.
Yeah, we'll see him next week, right?
Yeah, I hope he plays. It's great news for the Bills. He's that bad.
The leash is apparently very, very short. So,
yesterday they didn't have a back. Their backup quarterback was Malik Campbell, who is an athlete, not a quarterback.
yeah, Bailey Zappi was inactive for some reason.
Right.
I don't know why, admittedly. I mean, I was traveling back from a wedding yesterday, so my football consumption was a lot of just strictly what was on the radio through the mountains. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. But my understanding is the Mac Jones situation is a very short leash at this point. Well, I guess in theory, should Bailey Zappi or whoever the technical actual backup quarterback would be healthy or active at that point. I mean, obviously you're not going to probably throw Malik Campbell out there to the Wolves yesterday if you're Belichick and it went sideways, but
Right.
who knows. Speaking of the Patriots, though, Bills at New England, 1 p.m. on Sunday on CBS. New England 1-5 following a 17-21 loss at Las Vegas in Week 6. Either the ultimate bad beat or the ultimate great beat, depending upon what side of the coin you were on. Mac Jones, 129 for 201, 1,208 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Ramondre Stevenson, leading rusher for the Patriots, 78 carries, 234 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Their leading receiver this year is Kendrick Bourne with 28 receptions, 307 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Their defense allowing a decently all right 321.3 yards per game, 217 through the air, and 104 on the ground. Bills are currently a 9.5-point favorite at the early window with a 42-point over-under. Current forecast 59 degrees and mostly sunny in Foxborough. So
I think it'd be good for the Bills to get back to a regular 1 o'clock Sunday game because if you look, they lost to the Jets in Week 1 on Monday night game. They lost to the Jaguars in a game in Europe. And then they almost lost to the Giants last night in another primetime game. In the average regular Sunday afternoon games, they've just rolled over, Las Vegas, Washington, Miami. So,
Yeah, well, they only have 2 1 o'clock games left.
Are you serious?
The entire season, and the one is December 31st, also against the Patriots.
So this week and then
Week
it's,
17.
New Year's Eve.
Yep.
And that's the only time you'll see the
Yeah,
Bills
you'll
playing
be
on
seeing 'em.
Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Yep, you'll be seeing 4:25 starts a lot, and then night games.
4:25. Are they on the road out west, or are they hosting some late Sunday?
They're hosting the Jets at 4:25 in Week 11.
Well, that's crazy. And they probably NFL probably did that because when they made the schedule, they thought that Aaron
Rodgers
would
game
be
of the
there,
week.
so.
Yeah,
Rodgers could be back. Been throwing.
I can't believe 34 days after the surgery.
I doubt he'll be back.
No crutches, throwing the football.
I mean, it's two different.
Well, it's the holistic approach that he takes, probably.
Yeah.
So, but maybe Tyrod Taylor will be quarterbacking the Jets by then. Maybe, maybe they listen to this podcast and are like, "Yeah, what the heck? Tyrod Taylor might be available. Let's go get him because he's a really good quarterback." I mean, again, better than average quarterback. Look at Geno Smith, for example.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor is the same exact guy as Geno Smith. You know, had a little struggles early on in his career. Journeyman, and then he found a team that believed in him, gave him a shot, and now he's, the 11th best quarterback in the league.
Geno Smith, former Jet.
Former West Virginia Mountaineer.
Yep. From the same era of football for me in college there, so. Yeah, I don't know, but this game to me is just such a, oh gosh. I mean,
Bills are gonna splatter him all over Foxborough. That's my prediction early. I was worried about him playing against the Jaguars in London because of those circumstances. As bad as the Giants are, I wasn't totally shocked that it was that kind of game. I just thought that the Bills would win it by like 10 points, maybe, in a low-scoring game. But they're going to go into New England next week and just slaughter them, I bet. They're going to get out all their frustrations from the past couple of weeks offensively, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah. Are we making our game predictions?
yeah, if you want, go ahead, have at it.
I'm going to say maybe the Bills. I agree with you. 33-10.
Wow.
I'm going to go 40-0.
Oh
It
gosh.
surprised me, seriously. The Patriots' offense is that bad.
I think
I'm
that,
aware.
look, if you're a Bills fan, you know all those years of Belichick and Brady and the Patriots just pounding you year after year. Embarrassing, frustrating games. Well, now the tables have turned, and I think the Bills are at that point right now where they need that to shake it out, kind of like they did, when they came back and blew out the Raiders after losing to the Jets. It's been a rough couple of weeks for Bills fans. They went 1-1 through that crazy stretch of London and Sunday night against the Giants and Jaguars, and it was just this ugly mess that resulted in 1 win and 1 loss. Well, next week, the Patriots are going to pay the price.
Yeah, they're averaging 12 points per game, which is second to last in the NFL. The Giants are the only team that have the worst points per game average. So, they struggle to score. And remember, Buffalo almost shut out Washington. They only gave up 3 points. So if they can almost shut out Washington, you're telling me they don't have a really good shot at shutting out New England?
Yeah, they held Vegas to 10.
Yeah.
They blew Miami. I mean, really, to hold Miami to 20 is like holding most other teams to 3.
Yeah, seriously.
So we'll see why you disagree. You think the Pats are going to upset them?
No, I don't think it's an upset. Just the offense for me just scares me right now. Maybe this is the get right game in that sense,
right
right?
game, that's what
where it happens. I mean, the defense for me is absurd. I don't know if you guys know this, but they're the last team, at least in division, for the AFC East to not be in triple digits. They have allowed 83 points this year. Everybody else has allowed at least 120, I believe.
Wait, who?
The Bills'
Bills.
defense has only give up 83. Everyone else is
At
well
least
into
at
the 100.
At least at 120.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I definitely agree in terms of, I think the ass kicking. The offense, I think in theory they definitely cover that 9.5 if it were to stand right now like that. But I get tepid to go to the 30s and 40s just yet for whatever reason. But I'll go 27-10 they win. I guess I'm not too far off from you, Kyle. but the offense worries me at the moment a little bit, and hopefully, like I said, maybe this is just that get right game where they do just go out and they get like 40, 41, 42 points, and it's we come into next Monday and it's
Throw a defensive touchdown in there, maybe.
right, and we just eat. I just have to eat the crow on it. You know?
Derek Carr and the Saints beat the Patriots 34-0. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys beat them 38-3. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they're awful.
Yeah.
They might, after the performance that the Giants put on last night on the road, despite their record, they're better than the Patriots.
Yeah. No, I agree there. There's still elements, I think, of the Giants where it's like they could be good, but I mean the Patriots are just I don't know what went sideways there so quickly, but I don't know. Someone caught up to Belichick at the very least. I know that.
Well, they don't have the quarterback that is the extension of their coach out there, and yeah, it's he's trying a rebuilding process, and there's several holes that Belichick was wrong in filling, and one of them is quarterback, the most important.
Yeah, it's not just the offense. I just see here the defense has given up 152 points. Yeah. And yesterday, early in the first quarter, I'm not sure if you guys are watching, but they forced the Saints to kick a field goal, and they jumped offside. Yeah. Gave them a free first down. And it just seems like on all facets of the game, they're not doing anything right. And it's so weird from a Bill Belichick coach team to see them undisciplined, taking penalties, not doing anything right.
I love it. I mean, my thoughts on Bill Belichick are, if he's your coach of your team, you're going to be happy with him. He's going to do everything he can to win, including cheat, right? But
ain't cheating, ain't trying.
But how great will it be next week when the Bills are up 30 points on them in Foxborough and the cameras are flashing to him on the sideline and he's throwing...
He threw a tablet again. Did you see that?
Throw another tablet next Sunday. So.
And guess who they get after this? The Dolphins.
Oh, wow. All his old friends.
Yeah, so can you imagine 1-7 after Buffalo and Miami?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Assuming that plays out that way, who knows?
Yeah.
This league is crazy.
And injuries can happen.
Right.
As we saw with the 49ers, to be fair, McCaffrey went out.
Yeah.
Debo Samuel went out. But still, I thought they still could have won that game. And they had a chance, but they missed a field goal.
Yeah, right. And that cost me a parlay. Yeah. I did a little money line parlay yesterday, and that one lost it on that one game, that missed field goal.
A lot of wide rights yesterday. It even happened in the
including
Bills-Giants
game last
night.
Which we didn't talk about. The Bills got let off the hook as well at the end of the first half by the Giants messing that up. If they had kicked that field goal and everything else went according to how it did, which maybe it wouldn't have, then the Giants wouldn't have had to score a touchdown. They were in field goal range. They would have just kicked it, won the game.
They were the first team I saw in 30 years to end both halves at the 1-yard line.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is miserable.
It's hard to do.
0 points.
Right. That's not the part of a state you want to be a part of right there. Oh, gosh, that is. Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
But, anyways, we'll see what happens next week.
And Tyler Bass missed 2 50-plus yarders. So, I guess they could have had more than 14, but those are tough field goals.
Those were his first misses on the year, if I believe.
He's always reliable for the most part.
Kicks.
And it wasn't prime conditions, to say the least, last night. But either way. That's why you play the game. So, boys, thanks as always. Reconvene for next week, hopefully with a ass whooping of the Patriots.
Wait, let me give you a stat quick.
Oh, stat of the day. Go ahead.
7 AFC teams currently have 3 wins right now.
Oh.
And 5 of those teams are 3-3. I mean, that just goes to show you how.
Name those 5 teams real quick, because these are the teams that Bills would have had the same record with if the Giants kicked a field goal at the end of the first half, or if the ref had called the pass interference call. I mean, that's how close the Bills are to being in the class with these teams, Kyle.
Yep, the Colts, the Texans, the Jets, the Raiders, and the Bengals.
I mean, the Bengals is the only one in there that you would consider. So that's what it feels like to be a Bengals fan. But they're only 1 game behind the Bills. All those teams are only 1 game behind the Bills, and the so close to being Bills to be in that group.
Yep. And the Ravens also have 4 wins, and so do the Jaguars. And then the 2 5-1 teams are the Chiefs and Dolphins.
That reminds me, did you guys see Trevor Lawrence got dinged up yesterday too?
Yeah, it said he
Yeah.
was day-to-day today.
Third quarter, he came out in the third quarter.
Yep. So the AFC is pretty wild this year.
Yeah,
Very
and the
close.
NFC just got more interesting.
Yeah.
Eagles lose, 49ers lose. As I said yesterday, it's like, oh, the Lions are the best team now, I guess. Like,
For both contenders, for sure.
yeesh. What timeline did we fall into?
That's one reason why the NFL is such
Right.
a great league, because if you're a fan of any of these teams that are 3-3, or even if you're like 2-4 at this point, you still got hope. And you see it play out when teams like the Jets beat the Eagles, and the Giants take the Bills in their own house right down to the wire.
Oh, so it's the same thing in the NFC. 7 NFC teams have 3 wins. So, yeah, the NFC is pretty tight too, except for the AFC North. I mean, the Lions are going to run away with that. Packers and Vikings both have 2 wins.
I'll say I think Justin Fields is out this week coming up, the way it sounds. So.
Yeah, as we get a little closer, what they start breaking out the playoff, the standings, and the wild card, who's in position for the wild card stuff, usually around Thanksgiving, right?
A little before that now. I mean, we're at week 7.
Well, 2 weeks from today is the NFL trade deadline,
Right.
by the way.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think the Bills make any moves?
I think they need to. I
Where-
think
Tyrod Taylor, just in case Josh Allen gets into some more fights.
a lot of people want another weapon. I heard Adam Thielen this morning, but it's like,
Oh, I don't know if Carolina would give. Well, Carolina's terrible. They're
yeah,
0-6.
they're the only winless team.
But I don't know if they give him up, it's like punching their ticket for 0-16.
They made a change today too. I didn't read. I just saw it come across quick. But I guess they're making a change play calling wise on offense too.
Yep.
They're-
Carolina,
Carolina's got some
instead of
weird
Frank
stuff
Reich
going on,
calling him,
yeah.
he's going to let the offensive coordinator call the plays.
Carolina's got some weird stuff going on there.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyway, so you think?
I don't know. I'd probably lean towards defense. I'm still not sure about the middle linebacker position. Terrell Bernard, I like him, but the second linebacker, it's like Dorian Williams played there last night. Very inexperienced. I guess played well. I mean, they only gave up 9 points, but the Giants' offense isn't, the Chiefs' offense or the Eagles' offense or any other offense like that. So I don't know. I feel like Brandon Beane does need to focus. As good as the defense has been, I think they need to look for trading for defensive players.
Reinforcements, as
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with
And
that.
I'm not sure what Adam Thielen. I mean, I like Adam Thielen, and he's a good receiver, but I think it's really about utilizing what they have. I think that's really what's setting him back. Like, Deontay Hardy should be getting more targets. Dawson Knox should be getting more targets. Gabe Davis has to start catching the ball and hanging on to the ball.
Yeah, they don't have that Puka Nakua or who's the guy for the Patriots, reliable possession receiver all those years, short,
Julian Edelman.
Yeah,
I was
he's
about
got
to say,
that
like Wes Welker.
Edelman type of guy, Wes Welker type of guy. And last year they tried to do it with Cole Beasley a little bit. They don't have that type of guy on the roster right now. And I don't know if Thielen is quite that guy because he's more of a number 1, number 2. But
And he would be back with Stephon Diggs, like in Minnesota.
oh yeah, true, that's true.
That
Gabe
would
Daly, and honestly, maybe Thielen would be better across from Diggs than Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis scores a lot of touchdowns, but he certainly isn't a consistently reliable producer.
And remember, Gabe Davis's contract's up after the season, so if he continues to drop balls and not come up big for this team,
Fumble.
I'm not sure they re-sign him. And then say they did bring in Thielen. Thielen's on a 3-year deal. He'd be under contract for next year, where Gabe Davis is not under contract. So maybe they do make a move like that. But it's also up to Carolina. Are they willing to move on from a receiver like that? I know they're not winning games, but they're also trying to develop their quarterback.
Yeah, he's his number 1
So you
target.
need weapons for him.
Yep.
So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
Yep. Life isn't as simple as just trying to find your next Deion Branch or whoever out there. So, about to say, I know a certain one in Washington that if you want, you can just have Curtis Samuel. Interest you?
I like him. Good player.
They love using him in, funnily enough, like jet sweeps. So, either way.
Yeah, maybe one day the Commanders will be relevant again.
Oof.
Sorry.
Easy.
Is there any truth to the fact they might change their name again?
I hear that.
No, so my understanding is because the trademarks finally went through and everything, don't count on
I
it.
think it would be dumb to keep changing their name.
The closest thing to a rebrand you might see is just kind of like probably some logo redesign and stuff like that, but name-wise, I think Commanders is sticking.
I don't like it.
Really?
No, I would go with something more like Generals, even though there's the New Jersey Generals of the USFL.
Sorry, the Washington Generals against Globetrotters anyway.
Yeah, that's true too. But I kind of like the Generals or even Senators or something related to the capital. And Commanders is just too general. I mean, we don't. I don't know.
I wanted football team to stick, to be honest. That grew on me pretty quick.
It was a crazy time when.
I don't know. There's a lot going on, and well, I'll get off my Washington horse here, but like, apparently the RFK site's back in play for the new stadium and stuff. So, apparently next move would be.
What about the
completely
Hogs?
joke.
Didn't they remember they used to be at least in the '80s?
The linemen.
Their linemen were called the Hogs, and the fans would show up with the.
Right.
So couldn't they be like the?
That was apparently an option, was the Hogs, but the mascot is a pig. So now officially Major Tutty.
The Washington War Pigs.
But yeah, I mean, you also
War Hogs.
You also had the Fun Bunch down there and the Smurfs. So
yeah, they had a lot of.
Shout out to Syracuse legend Art Monk.
Yep, I met her once. I got an autographed picture from him.
So,
but yeah, okay. Well, this isn't a Redskins.
I was about to say, appreciate everybody for tuning into Commanders Weekly at the end of Bills Weekly. So yeah, let's get out here before we dive into too much of the Washington D.C. sports scene. So appreciate everybody for listening and watching. You can find Bills Weekly here on fingerlakes1.com, the FL1 YouTube channel, and all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Amazon Music. We'll be back at it again next Monday. Let's go Buffalo.